one chance. You will never regret the things that we'll do. 'Cause I wanna drive through the summer night. And when we are old and gray, we'll look back at this summer night. This summer night, this summer night. Sleeping in the back of a van, roaming in the wilderness. We'll never need a plan. We'll be alright, just you and I. Singing from the top of our lungs, dancing by the lakeside. Gonna do it while we're young. In a moment it will all be gone. You gotta understand that we get one chance, one chance. You will never regret the things that we'll do. 'Cause I wanna drive through the summer night. And when we are old and gray, we'll look back at this summer night. This summer night, this summer night. This summer night, this summer night. Someday we will look back, and our hearts will be whole again. I want to remember all that happened to us. 'Cause I wanna drive through the summer night. And when we are old and gray, we'll look back at this summer night. This summer night, this summer night. This summer night, this summer night. Oh, this summer night.
Welcome, everybody. This is our live stream. How did I get here? And this is for any salespeople, sales managers, or leaders that at the end of the month, end of the quarter go, how the hell did I get here? Good or bad, right? We thought we had all this in the pipeline. We didn't, right? I thought there's all this going. I didn't. Or we blew it out of the park. How did we make that happen? So it's really about tips, tricks, blunders for sales managers, salespeople, and all things sales. And you're probably wondering where I'm at. Don't look like my normal studio. Well, I'm on the road, so this is from a hotel room. But we can do this just about anywhere. And same thing, I was thinking recently I took a trip to France, and interesting, I flew from Dallas to New York to Paris. I hopped on a train from Paris to Champagne. All these interconnected things had to happen at a certain time. And about 2-3 days before the flight, I got this email from the airline saying, hey, we could have bad weather. You want to change your flight? Well, none of these things were connected. So I was looking for plan Bs. What happens if I fly in a day early or a day late? How do I make things work? And I put plans together. So what did it do? It unstressed me a little, but it also made my life easier. And I thought about that, when we're dealing with prospects and or customers, we put a plan together for plan B, because everything goes different ways. We don't know what's on their mind, what could happen to them, a fire that could happen in their building. So do you put plans together, right? Do you have a process? Because if you don't, and you go make a call on somebody, you're going to be subject to their plan. which is sometimes fine, right? But I always like to know what's happening, and if this doesn't go the way I thought it would, what's my plan B, right? So how often do you plan out your calls, your meetings? Maybe first appointments. I definitely have a call for my first appointment. My plan for my first appointment might not be as detailed, but it certainly has a plan to it. But then as I invest more of my time, more of the company's money into meeting with people, my meetings down the road, pretty detailed and pretty. I know what's going to happen, and um, also have a plan B, right? Plan C, and how do I handle Plan B and Plan C's? And what I mean by that is maybe it's never happened to you guys, but it's happened to me where I go into a meeting and I thought I was having a meeting with one person, and boom, there's two other people in the room. Now, my old self would have gone, okay, with the meeting, and just keep going with the meeting. And I have no idea who these two other people are. Um, I have no idea what to ask them. But I was too scared to say, oh my God, I got a meeting, so I'm going to go with it, right? Um, but then later on, I got to the point where if someone shows up, how do I handle that? If someone doesn't show up, how do I handle that? If if the plan was we were going to meet with the final decision maker, and the final decision maker doesn't show up, what's my plan going forward? So how often do you put plans together for your meetings? Because you've invested a lot of time. If you think about what your time is worth, I look at salespeople and say you have no idea the value of your time. You got to be worth thousands of dollars an hour. And think about it. If you have a meeting and it takes you how many hours to close somebody, and depending on your business, of course, but if you have 4 meetings and that's 4 hours, and those 4 hours you close somebody, and in those 4 hours that close you did nets you um, maybe $6,000, $5,000 in commission, you're worth $1,000 an hour, right? So what I'm getting, I want that in your head so that when you're sitting there going, hey, I'm meeting with somebody, I need to make sure I get $1,000 an hour out of this meeting, right? How do I make that happen? Well, you don't make it happen by just showing up and hoping things happen. You've got to sit there and you've got to go after a plan. What's going to happen? When's it going to happen? And the other thing you got to do with that is you got to have what I call equal business stature, right? Equal business stature means you got to realize you're as valuable to them as they might be to you. Maybe you're more valuable to them than they are to you. And so if you approach them and you have a meeting and they're taking you off your plan or your process, equal business stature gives you the right to say, hey, we're off our plan. Can we go back this way? And obviously you're not going to do that, but it's pretty simple to say, hey, look at, I'm glad we're going down this road. I think we need to discuss this. For the moment, just to keep everything in perspective, could we address this problem again? See, if you know your plan, you know your process, and someone takes you off your process, it's easy to say, uh-oh, I'm off my process. How do I get back? And have a plan to get back, right? If they take you down this road, right, and that road might be asking you, well, can you give us your credentials, right? Or can you give us this information, whatever it is. One of the rules we have at Sandler, and as you guys know, if you haven't attended a Sandler class, please hit subscribe, email me, com, and we'll get you into what we call crash a class. But one of the rules we have at Sandler is you will default to somebody else's plan if you don't have one. Fail the plan and your plan fails. So what we try to do is work through how do we deal with these processes. So I want you to think of a process and start working down that process. And as you're going down that thing, if it stalls out, it stalls out. But did it stall out because maybe there wasn't an opportunity there, which is, by the way, okay. And that's something we always want to check on. Is that opportunity I'm hearing or I thought was here? And if it isn't, it's okay for you to back out. It's okay for you to say, hey, look we're going down my process, but I'm seeing nothing here. At least that should be in your head. And that should be a plan C, right? Um, so I really want you to think about your equal business stature. So if somebody else walks in the room, if you're equal business stature and your time's worth $1,000 an hour at least, and someone else walks in that room, you have every right to sit there and say, hey, I'm glad to meet you, Mike. Hey, Mike, what's your role in this? And so can I ask, why did you decide to show up in this meeting? See, when you're doing that, you're now finding the reasons behind why Mike showed up, which is probably more important than just going down the path you wanted to go. Because if Mike showed up for a certain reason, right? Mike showed up he's the CFO and he wanted to check on the ROI. Then you can stop going down features and benefits and go, hey, Mike, so let's talk about ROI. What are you thinking? And you have the conversation with Mike because Mike's there for a reason. He's trying to get something out of this meeting. And it might not be the plan or process you put in place. So stop. And maybe it's plan B, change your process or stop your process altogether, reevaluate the situation with this new information. And maybe we decide to have a different meeting. I mean, what would be wrong to say, hey, Mike, it looks like you need more information than I brought with me today. Should we go ahead and set up another meeting and let me get those numbers set for you? And we can have that meeting. It's amazing. And Mike might say, that'd be great. And you get up to leave the room and you're going to have your other meeting with the other guy. So what is your plan? What's your process? Put a plan B together, plan C together. Get your equal business stature. Realize what you're worth because you're worth a lot. And the other thing I want you to think about is because you're worth a lot, you have the right for answers, right? You have the right for answers with your time. So work on that. And one of the things we'll tell you in the Sandler rule is don't spill your candy in the lobby. That's probably the most well-known Sandler rule. And a lot of people don't know what that means. But it basically means don't give all your information. Give information, but don't give all your information without understanding why you're giving it, right? We believe you get paid, salespeople get paid for the information they get, not the information they give. So I want you to think about that. Start thinking about that when you have meetings, put a plan together. I have a plan together. I've got several meetings here in St. Louis because I know my time is valuable. So I put plans together. If I'm here and a meeting cancels in the afternoon, I'm not going to go back to my hotel room and just sit. I've got a plan B of here's 10 other accounts. I can go knock on their doors and see if I can get conversations going. So it's the same thing you should do. If your plan fails or doesn't work, have a plan B. So that's it for today. Love for you guys to subscribe. And if you want to know more about Sandler and want to crash at one of our classes, our virtual classes, just click on subscribe and click on or email me, tom@salesmadeeasy.com, and more than happy to get you into one of our classes just to observe. All right, everybody. It's been a good live stream. I will get back in touch with everybody next week, Thursday, 8 o'clock. We'll have the next one. And we're going to talk a little bit about journaling. Thanks.